Conversations with Marc and Devi, the mediums. Marc Stuart, the Scottish medium. Devi Wolf, the smallest medium. Conversations on topical subjects. On subjects other mediums would not dare talk about, but we do. The Marc Stuart Medium Network, demonstrating, discussing, and training in Scottish-style mediumship.
Well, hello again.
Hi there.
I already said hello to you, Devi. Why are you saying hello to me again?
I wasn't saying hello to you. I was saying hello to anybody who's out there watching.
Oh, God, we're live again, and I forgot.
We are certainly live, yes.
Well, joking apart, people, do you like the new video intro? Instead of the static pictures, we've used AI to turn it all into nice moving videos.
How fun. How fun. But at least Marc had fun doing it. Yeah. I just did the voice. So yeah, that worked.
Got some really, if you watch any of our other events, the Cards with Marc, the Open Circle, and the Rapid Fire, I've really gone overboard in those ones and got humorous.
He absolutely has, yes. This is the tamest one you'll see.
Yeah, by a factor of 10. Anyway, I think we're struggling into news, so let me just click on my appropriate bits. So here we are, folks, talking about our news. So I suppose the big one is actually a small one, but a fairly major one. There are 20 countries around the world with spiritualist churches. So the spiritualist world, if you want to call it, as far as I'm concerned, has 20 countries in it. Scotland is at the top of that pile in terms of numbers of spiritualist churches, because we've got 31,000 people per church. Other countries come way down at the bottom, and America's about 2/3 of the way down, with about 3.25 million people per church. Anyway, it really annoys me when I go to America and I come across all these people like Devi and other people that will remain nameless, and they say, I'm an international medium, because they've crossed over the border into Canada or gone on holiday somewhere.
I've done readings in England, so I'm international as well.
Yeah, whereas I have
I haven't been there physically, but I've done readings for people in England. How's that?
Yeah, so that's what I mean. That's what that kind of internationalism. Yeah, it is internationalism. But I have actually traveled to 4 countries and worked in spiritual
He has traveled and been physically in those countries, yes.
Yeah, and I've got videos to prove it. So I can, up until about 2 days ago, I could say that I have worked in 20% of the spiritualist world, or 20% of the countries that do spiritualism as a religion. I have just got myself booked for Wales, which is only it's more than a few hours drive away. It's actually at the wrong side of Wales, but never mind. So by the end of next year, I will have raised that number to a minimum of 25%, or you could word it and say I have worked and I've worked. So basically, I have got, subject to actually going and working, and assuming that they don't kick me out, having seen this video.
The whole quarter of the countries, yeah.
Yeah.
And whole quarter of the countries with spiritual churches, yeah.
And I'm working to increase that. My long-term aim is to get over 50%, and then I'm going to approach the Guinness Book of Records and say, I'd like a record for it. So that's an open challenge to every other medium out there that's watching who says they're an international medium. I want you to compete with me. I don't mean compete, but I mean, I want you to contact me and say, I've worked in 6 churches in 6 countries, or numbers to that effect. And then we'll set up a competition between us to see who's done the number. I mean, I know a few mediums that have done 2 countries, maybe 3 countries.
Right.
So I want to turn this into more than just me going out there and doing it. And yes, it's my ego, and yes, it is a marketing line. I'm going to be honest about that. But by doing it,
marketing because you want to be in Guinness.
Yeah, but we raise the profile of what we're doing. We raise the profile that there are spiritualist churches out there, and it might even help people in countries. I mean, there's a lot of countries that only have one spiritualist church. So if I write to that church and they say no, well, that strikes 5% of my 100% target, and I have a 100% target by the time I die. By the time I die, I want it to say on my gravestone, this Mark Stuart was a medium who worked in 100% of the countries that had spiritualist churches on platform. Anyway,
That's a lot to put on a gravestone, but we'll try. I'll make it real small.
Anyway, it's a small target. It's one step. It's just one step, and it's next year. So that's the first bit of news. The second bit of news we've already covered. We've been using AI to updo all our video entries. Kind of follows on for other bits that we've been talking about. We've been doing a lot of work in upgrading the net, sort of like the branding, cutting back a lot of the things that we were trying to do because we were spreading ourselves too thin.
Right.
We're doing a free spiritual event every Sunday. That's the other tagline. Comes under the network. So that's the name of what we're doing. It's either Cards with Marc, which is me doing free cameras and showing off my card collection, Open Circle, which there's only going to be 2 a month. So basically it's 2 and 2. And we're only doing this once every 3 months, but the plan is to do it on a more regular basis, rapid fire demonstrations. The problem with that is, to make it really work, we have to get a lot of people. So I'm going to have to advertise.
So I need to advertise. And that costs money.
Yeah, which costs money, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to throw money away just to one event that's free. But at the moment, it's once every 3 months. I might, once we get into the next quarter, I'll cover that in a second. I might do 2, so it'll be once every 6 weeks. If we can get up to about 40 people coming to it, it's enough to make it feasible for me to aiming to be doing 100 readings. I mean, I did 40 readings at the last one, but basically most people were getting 4 readings, and it was getting a bit silly.
It was getting a bit stale, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the plan for what we're doing. What else? Yes, the other bit of news about the network. We're coming to the end, not quite. We're about 2 months of the way through, but we're getting fairly close to finishing the Celtic theme that we've been running through all events. And we're covering Celtic in our conversations today as well, of course. But our next topic theme is going to be AI, and we're going to be specifically talking about AI affecting the big bad world. Now, a lot of people are talking about that, but that's just the background. We're going to make it very specific in terms of how AI is affecting the mediumship world. Now, that might be boring things like if you're running a church, how you can be using AI to run the church, all the way through to con artists, because I've already seen people using ChatGPT to actually do readings.
Oh, yes. Oh,
so there's a lot that we can cover. I'm also been following about 3 or 4 people that are fairly, like, they work for companies like ChatGPT. They've got PhDs in the subject. They're like, well, there's one guy who's British who literally founded the whole AI industry. And the ones that I follow are all consistently saying that jobs are going to be taken over by AI. And we're not talking 6 years in the future. We're talking now to 2 years.
Next year.
Yeah, next 12 to 18 months. So we're going to, and I mean, we're not going to be doing this for about another month and a half, and then we're going to be running it for 3 months. So I'm expecting, I wasn't going to say I'm hoping, but I'm expecting there to be news and developments during that time period. So although we will have topics laid out, we might make it very flexible. Anyway, that's and the other bit of news.
But it's not the only news. I am obviously not in my office today.
Well, I'm
on vacation visiting my mom.
Yeah. And the other bit of news is we're running a poll during this half-hour talk. I want you've got some simple votes. Either she's crazy in terms of she's coming on to do a discussion with me while she's with her mum, or she's dedicated and that she's coming
very
on
dedicated.
Or you can,
or I just know that Marc couldn't handle it himself.
Or she's crazy and desperate. I mean, sorry, not desperate. Crazy and
desperate. I'm definitely crazy. I don't denounce that at all. Desperate, no.
Okay, so that's enough of all of that.
Anyway.
So, what are we talking about today? Well, very simple. We've been talking about Scotland and the Celts. So we're going to go back in time, way back before there was anything like a spiritualist church, way back before there was even a Christian church.
The pagan times.
I don't like the name pagan.
But that's what they were called. But okay, go ahead.
No, that's what you call yourself in modern times.
No, pagan. The pagan word, pagan means from the country, and it was the religion that the country folk followed.
Okay.
Sorry.
Or to put it in my terminology, the religion that the Celts of Scotland followed. Time scale,
Exactly.
800 BC before Christ to about 400 to 600 AD Anno Domini. It's a 200-year gap because Christianity arrived with one man in one church and then spread throughout Scotland. And it didn't, it's like all things, like all movements.
It took time, yeah.
It doesn't go like that. We're all Christian. It took time. And obviously, there's a lot of history involved in that time period. We will be mentioning it, but we've really covered. We're covering that in other talks. What we're focusing on today is what the actual religion was or is. I say is because Devi describes herself as a pagan Celt, and I'm going to discuss why.
No, I'm actually not a Celtic pagan. I am not. However, when I first discovered paganism, that's what I picked up first. I'm very eclectic in my practice. I pull from a lot of different places, but Celtic paganism was what I picked up first to study. So,
but you see, my point is we don't know what Celtic paganism was.
We know a little.
No, we have a lot of assumptions taken from historical evidence, but there is.
However, there's the festivals, like the Celtic festivals, the Wheel of the Year. Those have been passed down since a time immemorial.
Yeah,
and those still happen.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. But here's an example of what I'm talking about. Look at Christmas. Now, I'm not going to be critical of the Bible, but I'm just giving this as an example of what I'm talking about. Modern day Christmas is St. Nicholas, Father Christmas, Christmas tree, presents around the tree on the morning for the children, Father Christmas coming down.
That's all pagan. That's all pagan.
Yeah.
That comes from the old Scottish Celtic festivals, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm coming back to that. And then you've got the religious side. It's Christ's Day. It's the birth of Jesus Christ. Let's forget whether you're a Christian or not. But let's just just for the sake of argument, let's just assume that there was a man 2,000 years ago called Jesus. He was a religious leader. He was use whatever terminology you want to use. He lived during the time.
And he was not born on December 25th.
Correct. That's the point I'm coming to. And there are three different versions in the Bible, of the published Bible today, each one radically different about the day that he was born. And the modern Christian Christmas Day is an amalgamation of all of those three put together, and it's complete nonsense.
Plus, it was taken, the reason they put it at that time was also because of the Festival of Yule, which is on the 21st, 22nd. And they wanted people to stop celebrating Yule and start celebrating Christmas instead. And Yule, like the tree, is completely a Yule thing, a pagan thing. So is gifting. So yeah.
Yeah, and the tree comes from Germany and was introduced during the Victorian time. So and again, everybody thinks that the Christmas celebration comes from Britain. It doesn't. The Christmas tree comes from Germany.
German.
Yeah.
What you think of as Christmas celebration with the tree and the gifts and stuff. Yeah. And St. Nicholas.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to the point I'm trying to make in a convoluted round way, the point that Devi makes that we know about Celtic festivals and Celtic religion, that's word of mouth. It's stuff that's been handed down for nigh on coming close to 3,000 years. We're about 2 centuries short of 3,000 years. And what the people were
saying that the operator problem is a problem. Like it just loses something over translation over time. It changes. Of course it does.
Yeah,
of course it does.
So that's the first problem you've got. The second problem, and it's actually an even bigger problem, and this is actually the problem that the Romans had when they tried to conquer Scotland. Scotland at the time, so we're going back to about 2,000 years ago, had two very distinct features. The first is geography, which feeds into the point I'm about to make. It's a very difficult place to conquer. Now, it's a lot tamer now than it was then. But when the Romans crossed over into the north of Britain, they came across wet, rain, mud, bogs, mountains that are like warrior walls of solid rock, forests.
And they said, we don't want to deal with that.
No, they kept going for hundreds of years. They kept going for centuries, actually.
They tried. They certainly tried, but they couldn't.
Yeah, and forests. Now, most of the forests have gone. There are places that are still forest-like, but only a small proportion of it. So when they were coming over,
right,
native tribes who knew they knew the country, they were adapted to what it was like, they lived there. Basically, they just came out of nowhere, guerrilla warfare. It was like the American War of Revolution, like the American War of Revolution. I mean, that's an interesting point because there were so many Scots in the American War of Revolution. Could we trace your fighting techniques against the Redcoats all the way back to Scotland? Well, let's not go there. That's
probably could, yeah. Probably could.
So, coming to the people that they were trying to conquer, they were all over the place. There were no cities, there were no towns. It was because of the geography, they were spread throughout the country. Tribes, obviously, and there were about when the Romans started attacking, there were about 20 tribes in total. Now, coming back to the religious aspect, every one of those 20 tribes had different gods and goddesses. So you weren't even looking back historically, saying, "Oh, this goddess and that god, and let's write a book about it." Okay, but which tribe did that god apply to?
Which tribe? Yes.
Which tribe?
And usually what happens is they get the amalgamation of all of it.
Yeah. So even if you're trying to explain what the religion was like, I mean, I'm just going to keep it simple. 20 tribes. 20
it was very local.
Exactly.
Religion was very local. Yes. Some of the festivals had spread because people from neighboring towns came to a big festival. But everything else was local gods and goddesses and land spirits and things like that.
And your next problem is, and I mean, this is a contradiction. The Scottish people over the next centuries up to modern day pretty much invented the modern world. And let's not get into
There he goes again.
Let's not get into a side argument, but just about any subject you can choose, I can pluck a Scottish inventor. I mean, for example, you want to keep fit.
Okay, electricity. Electricity.
Okay, I'll give you the electricity, but things that you use electricity for, like
light bulb, a light bulb, a light bulb.
Like I say, I'm not saying we invented absolutely everything, but
okay, you did say that, but go ahead.
I said almost. Virtually
almost.
Okay. You take, I can go back into Scottish history, time of the Industrial Revolution, just before or after it, and give you Scotsmen, Scottish people. Better be modern in this day and age.
Yes, there were a lot of inventors in Scotland that did some amazing work, but there was also a lot of inventors elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. But there's a YouTube. If you go onto my website and dig back far enough, there is a YouTube video that I've put up multiple times, and it's a comedy where they've got an expert from like 5 countries, and they get somebody from America, somebody from France, somebody from England, and it's a discussion. And what did you invent? And each one of them comes up with one item of major significance. And then the man from Scotland gets up and he walks up to the board and he brings this massive list. It's like 50 items and they're going down it.
But that was not the question. That was not the question. He did not answer the question.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's obviously it's comedy, but yeah.
Yeah. But
many other countries could list 50 things too.
Yeah. But coming back to the point I started making, for a country to have done all of that, what I'm about to say is going to be pretty profound. We have no written record dating back to the Celts because they couldn't read and write. There was no.
It was all oral tradition.
Exactly. Now you can say, "Oh, but nobody could read and write back then." Well, incorrect. The Chinese had a written language by then.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Had a written language, maybe not quite 800. But yeah, they did, because we've got hieroglyphics that date back that far enough. the Roman Empire was marching in, and that's part of the historical record that we get. It's not the Celts from Scotland; it's the Romans writing about what they encountered, etc.
Writing about the Druids, and who knows if any of that's true.
Correct. So that brings us on to, if there's no written record and we're saying that we don't know, what comes from what we do know? Well, coming back to the point that Devi made, you've got verbal traditions. The Celts did not disappear. The Celts were absorbed by other people coming into Scotland. The Celts were transformed by Christianity. But even within Christianity, if you go back and look at the early records of Christianity, it's radically different and I'm talking about Catholicism. Even the Catholicism.
And many of the saints, the Scottish saints, were actually Scottish or Celtic gods and goddesses before that the church switched over, so people could still worship them and still be Christian.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you go back a little bit further in history and look at the Romans, okay, you have to understand geography here and a little bit of history. So Romans conquer England, move north, move into what we call the lowlands, encounter the Celts, and retreat back. So what they do is they build this huge wall that still exists in places from coast to coast, right across Scotland. Although it's not actually in Scotland, it's in England.
Hadrian's Wall.
Hadrian's Wall, yeah. So there's lots of archaeology. I mean, if you're seriously into Roman history, it's like the Chinese. It's not as impressive as the Chinese Wall because there's very little of it left. But there are.
But it's still impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, there's still forts that have been dug away, and you can basically drive all the way along it. Don't know how many sites you could stop at, but if you really want to do history, you can. So anyway, jump about a century forward. They try again, and they get as far as my front door. Well, about 100 meters away from my front door, where I live. They then build Hadrian's Wall. Now, that area, coming back to the point I was making, is largely the lowlands. Now, if you look at what we know about the Celts, and if you follow it from Hadrian's Wall up the way, there's quite an interesting side effect. In the lowlands, from what's been passed down and from what we've read about the Romans, it's all male gods. And when you get into the Highlands, well, it's not all, but it's not exclusively, but you're talking about an 89 switch.
Yeah.
When you get into the Highlands, it's all female goddesses. Well, I don't know, unless you've got a female man, but never mind. Now, why is that? Why is that? It's quite straightforward, because coming back to the point that we were making about Christianity, the Romans or the Celts, both ways, or the people living there, merged the Celtic gods into the Roman gods. So you've got Celtic god of sun, you've got Celtic god of war, and you can
which was Lu and Dagda, is that right? Yeah, Dagda.
Yeah, but if you actually look at it, or what we know, what we think about it, it's quite clearly the Roman god that's been adopted or merged in.
Right, but like Cernunnos is male. He's the epitome of male. You know, the stag.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm not saying it's either or. I'm just saying that, like, verbal tradition and sources of information, the further north you go, the less you've got of the Romans, because they didn't go that far. So what you've got is highly inaccurate, because what you've got from the Romans is an amalgamation of their gods being imposed or being adopted into the Catholic religion. So again, that's another problem. So we've listed all the problems. I suppose we should now say, what do we actually know about Celtic religion?
What do we actually know?
Or think we know. Let's just put that caveat in.
Exactly.
Well, two basic fundamentals. Now, I'm going to pronounce a very difficult word, and Devi's going to correct me if I mispronounce it.
Polytheism?
Yeah. Or theistic. Which basically means lots of gods and goddesses.
Many gods and goddesses, yes.
Yeah.
And that has carried over into the pagan religion in modern times.
Yeah. Now, again, take that back to what we said about there being 20 tribes and it being very local.
Right.
It may very well be
so, of course, all of those tribes probably had multiple gods.
Yeah. But we're not saying that they had we're not saying, I mean, I don't know how many, we're not saying they had 500 gods that everybody believed in. We're saying that the tribes had multiple gods and goddesses, but they all had different
Yes.
gods and goddesses. They might have been aware of each
Right.
other. They might have accepted that they all existed. We don't know. But they did believe in more than one god and goddess, which is quite
Yes.
common in religions going back that far. And I'll come back to that in a minute before we end, because as a medium, I find that quite interesting. The second thing is, and again, excuse my pronunciation, animistic.
Animism. Animism.
Okay. Animism, animistic. It's the same word in different contexts.
It is not, but okay. Animism is basically a belief that everything has a soul. Or and everything, yeah.
They would remember soul,
everything is love.
Soul is a modern Christian concept.
Yes, okay, that's the easier way to define it. Excuse me, the easiest way to define it.
Yeah, but if we've got some Christian fundamentalists watching, let's be careful, because it is America.
Oh, okay, excuse me.
You know, I don't want to arrive in my next trip to America and find that Devi's standing on a burning.
They'll be stoning me to death. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, every natural feature. Now, remember the geography we described. Scotland is a very harsh country with very prominent rivers. I mean, for example, there's one lake with fresh water in Scotland that's the deepest lake in the world. There is no other lake anywhere on this planet that goes as deep. And that just happens to be Loch Ness with the Loch Ness Monster, but let's not get into that story.
Of course. That's the only reason Nessie can hide, is it's so deep.
Yeah, but coming back to what we said, it's only, in my mind, it's only natural that you're going to believe that every prominent feature is going to have some kind of spirit or god entombed in it or created in it. I mean,
yeah, that is I'm an animist, so I feel that. Yeah, everything has some sort of a spirit. So I just well, depends on what kind of word you want to use. Yeah.
So let me interject my final little twist in all of this. Again, and I've covered this before, Scotland, and we covered this at the very beginning, and I did that deliberately, of course. Scotland has the highest per capita number of people per spiritualist church. Why is Scotland so strong spiritually? And I'm not saying other people don't believe in spirit. I'm just talking about the industry of churches, because that's a nice, definable way of defining spiritualism as a religion. Why is it so strong in Scotland? Trace it all the way back. The Romans didn't conquer us. There are 4 countries, well, there's more than 4 countries, but there's 4 countries on the British Isles that had Celts. Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and England. The England is where the Romans occupied and civilized, and that's where the Celts virtually are non-existent. Wales is still Celtic. I just got myself through the process of getting myself booked for a church, but there's not that number of churches. There's only 14 churches in the whole of Wales. Scotland has about 175. Just to put that in
Wales is tiny, though. For those of you who don't know, Wales is pretty tiny.
Yeah, agreed. Ireland's not. Ireland's got 5 million people.
No, so, Ireland's not.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at that just before we came in, and there are only 5 spiritualist churches in the whole of Ireland, including North and South.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 other Celtic countries, and they're quite high up on when you compare it to the population, but they come nowhere near Scotland. So why is Scotland like that? Because we have the old Celtic religions that have carried forward through culture. So again, why did it carry through culture? Because go back to the original beliefs. I still say that you had people running around that were mediums that didn't realize they were mediums. And where they were interpreting something as a god, it was spirit coming forward and talking to them, and they literally didn't know how to handle it. And that conversation gets handed around, and before you know it, you've got a god of the lake.
Possibly. Yes, possibly. Which one's yours? I'm live, Mom.
Devi, I don't believe you're alive. I believe you're a spirit come forward for me to communicate with, and I'm proving life after death here. Anyway, I think we've covered the whole subject.
We're about out of time anyway. Yeah, so
nicely got to the end of time. So next week it'll be an open circle. There's videos, new video if you want to see that, because we're advertising all over the place on Facebook. Let me just run through our usual bits and pieces. So if you want to be kept up to date, sign up for the newsletter, markstuartmedium.com/newsletter. Remember that you can watch this. You're probably already doing so. You can watch this on Facebook and YouTube, but Facebook deletes in 30 days. So go find at Scottish Medium. Please follow
on
us
YouTube.
on YouTube. And excuse me, I've got the hiccups. And please like the video, etc.
Oh, yes, please do. Like and follow.
If you want to come to the open circle that I mentioned next week, calendly.com/MarcStuartMedium. Ignore the bit at the end, and you'll get a page that's just been set up with links to all the events that we talked about. The only events that are not on that page are the conversations that we're having, because we have a different link for that every week.
Right.
We are investigating a way around that where we can have one link, but that's for the future. I'm not going to talk about that just now. If you want to come to the Open Circle workshop that we told next week, all our meetings follow the standard open-circle-workshop. Rapid results is rapid, etc. If you're watching this on Facebook, as I've already said, it will be deleted in 30 days. Please join us on Telegram. So it's https:/t.me/Marc_Stuart_medium_training. Seriously, folks, this is actually quite an important part. The last time we did a circle, there was a mix-up in dates, so apologies for that if you were trying to log on.
And it's not my fault. It's not his fault.
Yeah, I actually had a mild dose of the coup. God, I was about to say Highland cow. I had a mild dose of the cold, and I was quite drowsy when I was sending things out, and I sent the wrong date out. But put that aside, we're back on track. A lot of people were having difficulty logging on. I don't know if that was connected to the issue, and we've had that in previous weeks. And people keep sending us emails replying to the newsletter email. Well, listen to this, folks. We send out somewhere in the region of about 2,000 emails.
Yeah, that newsletter email is unmonitored, so don't reply to that.
Don't reply to it.
No.
Don't send. I mean, it is my email address. It is my email account, and I do look at what comes in, because obviously I know when people have been putting in. But I'm not sitting when we're doing an event watching the email account in case you can't log on. Where you communicate with us, if you have any logon problems, is in Telegram. Join the Telegram group. Go search on, if you can't be bothered to take a screen print or remember what that is, do a search on Telegram. You have to download it, you have to install it. And on the night, we monitor Telegram. And if you type in, I can't log in, one of the four of us, because there's four of us that are doing this together, although you only see Devi, there's another two people in the background. Basically, one of us will monitor that and one of us will reply to you.
Right.
Okay.
Ciao. I've got to go like right now. So I'm going to say bye to y'all and see you next week. Bye.
I'll see you sooner than that, Devi, but unfortunately, yeah. Okay, so that's Devi gone. I'll be gone in a second. We have a channel on TikTok. Not very active, sometimes active. It goes through phases of being active or not active. So please go and join up. And that's it from me, folks. It's been a pleasure. Good night. And remember, we'll be back next Wednesday at 10:30 UK time, adjust for local USA time. Have a nice evening.